Okay, so what's special about 11 Rack is we're kind of redefining the way that people have modeled and emulated guitar amplifiers. In the past, some of the technology that's been out there has been described by professional guitarists as a bit two-dimensional because they'll take a sound of a guitar, you've got guitar here, you've got amplifier there, the sound that comes out of it, they associate that with the guitar signal, and it becomes a little bit like an EQ. It's a tone that they apply to the sound coming through it. And that tone may very well be close and really accurate. Great. But an amplifier is more than just something that generates tone. It's a very dynamic device that reacts to different stimulus. Whether your guitar's a low gain, you get a cleaner sound. When you crank up your guitar sound, it's really dirty. It feeds back. When you're hammering on your fretboard, you'll get a very different sort of percussive sound to when you're strumming. You get all these different types of nuances that a guitar amp will do. And things like when you pluck really strongly, you'll get that distortion at the start, and as the volume tapers off, the sound will clean up because there's less gain going to the amplifier. All of those nuances that haven't really been present in earlier guitar technologies, that's what 11 Rack is trying to deliver. So what 11 Rack is doing is, if you think of that technology and how hardcore it is, and it's very technical and uses a lot of CPU power, we then took that convolution modeling idea and said, okay, we want to model the behavior of this thing. We don't want to model a guitar amp because that's been done before and it becomes too two-dimensional. A guitar amp is made up of many parts. So what we're going to do is actually create convolution models of the most important parts of the signal flow of a guitar amp and its cabinet and its microphone and its effects. So what you've got in 11 Rack, or the plugin 11, which came before the Rack unit, is a tool which has about 17 different points of convolution modeling. It's modeling the input amplifier, the op amps, it's modeling your transformers, your valves. It's then got convolution models of some of the most standard industry tools for distortion, 3-key distortions, tape delays, digital delays, standard reverbs that people would use, compressors, gates, EQs. Fundamental building blocks for a working guitarist have all been modeled using this kind of deep technology, so that you then, when you click all of that together, you get a much more dynamic, interpretation of what is a guitar amp on stage than anything that's ever gone before it, which have generally been, as I say, more two-dimensional. Here's a tone. This is a model of the behavior of all of these different points to give you something that behaves much more like a true guitar amplifier, which is a much more dynamic device. Very much innovative, new technology. I'd say definitely a world first. And the other thing which it's doing is it's bringing together the world of the live sound with the studio, which again is a world first. So taking this technology, making it available on the road, you can use MIDI technology with MIDI foot controllers to then drive the rig when you're on stage. But then when you bring it home and you want to do some composition as a recording guitarist, it's got a USB port that connects into your computer. It comes bundled with Pro Tools LE software, which includes 48 tracks of playback. You've got all of your virtual instruments and your effects, 80 effects included there, and you're then set to record through the microphone input, which is on the front of the rack, either your own voice with the guitar, or alternatively to send the signal back out of Pro Tools through the 11 rack into your amp, and then capture it through the microphone input and back into Pro Tools again, a process called reamping, where you've got a great take, but the tone's not quite there, you want to add some more oomph to it, so you take the dry signal instead of the wet signal of your recording, feed it back out through the rack, through your amplifier, and then tweak it as you need to record it back in. So it's got some fantastic tools for the studio side of it, as well as for the live side, really integrating those two worlds together for the first time.
Cool. And it's quite user-friendly?
Yeah, it's as user-friendly as Pro Tools. So at the end of the day, it's actually probably more user-friendly than Pro Tools. The GUI on the front of it is made for live use. So you've got 6 intelligent sort of pots on the front of it, 6 knobs there, and they're actually color-coded depending on what's going on. So you can see them on the front there. They're currently in this orange state that indicates that we've loaded up a preset. As we move them, they'll go red to indicate that you've moved them off that preset. If we were to dive into that setting and move over to, say, our effects here, let's switch that effect on, dive into that, you can see that they go green to indicate that you're currently in one of your effects units, rather than when you step back out, they'll go orange to show that you're in your standard sort of preset there.
Cool.
So a lot of clear visual indication, because a lot of the time the pro guitarist is working on stage with not a lot of light, so it's really important to have that high contrast LCD screen, to have good, simple, clear knobs that you can work with, that you can see what's going on, and that sort of jazz. And there's your microphone input in the front for reamping in the studio.
Cool.
And you just panned across and had a look at the GUI on screen. So what this is doing is actually giving you a user interface to control the outboard device. This is not a plug-in. This is a control system for the box, which is sitting outside your computer. So you can sit in the comfort of your control room in a professional studio. You can have the box hooked up in the live room with your amplifier, maybe reamping, and you can control the various different settings from the comfort of the live room in front of the Pro Tools system, and be adjusting all of your settings with zero latency, using the box to do all the effects rather than a plugin on the software, which may induce some latencies there, which is always the bane of the guitarist. $1,000, you're talking about $1,600 for the whole thing. So that's 11 rack with the hardware, with the software. Pro Tools 8 is included, and you can run the plugin with it as well. So it's a pretty good deal. Other than that, Pro Tools 8 was released last December. It's been a really big upgrade for us to make, Pro Tools much more accessible to musicians. Got integration there with Sibelius, using the Sibelius arrangement software and scoring tools. A lot of great virtual instruments and everything you need to basically make your own music right there in front of you in an industry standard. So, prepare you for the industry ahead.